Welcome to Through the Drama. Chris Harrison and Lauren Zima with you. LZ, we're usually pretty open and honest about the things that kept us up last night.
Yes.
The big question, sometimes I'm reluctant, but should we be in a throuple? We've been married a couple years. It's the two of us. We're very happy. Everything's wonderful, but should we be in a throuple? And actually, this came to be because of one of your favorite shows you're watching, and you started discussing it with me, and then now I've gone down the rabbit hole.
Okay, so I'm a 90 Day Fiancé fan, and 90 Day Fiancé, they cover relationships where people are dating someone from another country, and then they've got to try to bring them to America on a fiancé visa. Well, for the first time on the new season, they have a throuple. And I'm going to play a little clip just to set the scene. This is a married husband and wife, and they want to bring in a third woman. She lives in Mexico. They want to bring her to the U.S. and bring her into their marriage. Here they are.
I miss you. I miss you. I miss you a lot.
We don't really get to see each other that much because of our families and jobs. But when we hug and kiss, if feeling together again, it never stopped.
So here's what got my brain going. I will admit, this couple is the first time where I was watching a throuple and thinking, wait, could this work?
They seem healthy.
They seem really like they're both very adamant. We love each other. We love her equally. They are talking about, and this will blow your mind, getting divorced themselves, and they have 2 kids. They want to get divorced because that would be the only way they could bring her to America, is for them to get divorced and one of them to marry her. So that's how committed to this they were. But then a couple episodes in, the woman from Mexico said to the wife, hey, FYI, I'm really here for you. I love you more than him. So I thought, okay, that's a big loop.
Right.
But then the wife said to the husband, well, we just need to work on you two's relationship. We need to grow it more. So I just really started going back and forth. Can a throuple work? These people are at the point of wanting to get divorced to create a throuple.
Obviously, we're bringing an expert on today because I want to there are so many questions I have. Like, do we need to go unicorn hunting? What does that mean? By the way, my browser history, forgive me for my browser history for the last 2 days. I've been researching this topic. I have so many questions, but in the end, I've always felt like someone will always get hurt.
Okay.
When 3 are involved, someone will always be the odd, no pun intended, odd man out. And that seems to be the case here. So I do have a lot of questions. I am glad we have brought an expert on to dive into this today.
I couldn't believe that I was even considering maybe it could work. But I want to know, can a throuple work not just in a moment, in the long term?
That's the thing. It always seems like it works initially.
Sure,
but yeah.
Fun for a minute.
Yeah, but
let's go to the expert. We are bringing on Dr. Viviana Coles. She is a licensed relationship and sex therapist. She's known as the intimacy expert. She's coming to us out of Houston, Texas, where her office is. But you have seen her on the big screen on the TLC show Married at First Sight. Dr. Viviana, we've interviewed you before. It's so good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys. When I heard that this was the topic, I thought, oh, what is going on with them?
Things have changed since we've seen you last.
Dr. Viviana, we do research. We take it very serious. We have to open up the marriage. We just got to do it. If we're going to really dive in, no. It's one of those things where you go to a doctor, says, we're asking for a friend. We have been discussing this. And honestly, Lauren and I just trying to figure out if a throuple can work in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Well, the short answer, and this is the thing, we could talk about this for days. So I'm going to try to stick with answering the questions that you give me, because if not, I will just go and go and go. This is a question that so many couples are asking themselves, and actually individuals are starting to wonder. 34% of Americans are saying that the traditional monogamous relationship isn't for them. So many couples are asking this question. This is a really timely episode.
Well, I want to ask you, you have clients on and off the screen. Do you have any throuples in your practice?
I have had several throuples, not nearly as many couples, but throuples are on the rise. And as you can imagine, anyone who comes to see me is coming in because something just isn't working well. It may be on the verge of disaster, or it may just have been starting. With throuples, though, they come in for reasons that you wouldn't think. for so many people, they think that throuples are going to have lots of issues with jealousy. Now, if you are truly, we call it compersion. Compersion is the ability to be truly happy for and satisfied with your partner being sexually attracted to or sexually active with someone else. So if you're opening up your relationship to sexual, consensual non-monogamy, then that's a big part of it. You must have the ability to say, I'm happy that you're happy. And a lot of couples that come in, they're not coming in for throuples that are coming in are not coming in for jealousy. They're coming in for the typical things that couples and throuples in all relationships struggle with: communication, money, sex, date nights not happening. So you'd be surprised. A lot of it is just the typical things that just traditional couples go through as well.
Wow. Well, if we can show this clip, I'm interested in you talking about the numbers, Dr. Viviana. We'll just play this on screen, but there is an Instagram account called Camp Throuple, and it is two women and a man. I'm just interested in the interest because one of their videos, for example, has 76 million views, a video called Throuple Things, where they kind of jokingly walk through what life is like for them as a throuple. 76 million views. And to me, that indicates interest. I don't know if it's interest beyond just the shock factor of it all, but they're documenting their life as a throuple. And when we come back, I want to get into it with you, why 34% of people are interested in this. And I want to find out, is it usually 2 women, 1 man? Is it sometimes 2 men and 1 woman? We're going to get to more with Dr. Viviana when we come back.
Welcome back to Through the Drama. Kris and Lauren here today with Dr. Viviana, relationship intimacy expert, as we discuss throuples, the rise in this, and is it possible to actually work, I guess. Dr. Viviana, I kind of, we kind of went to break looking at this happy throuple, and our societal norms, the way we were typically all raised very traditionally, is that a man and a woman, or just a traditional,
2 people
are in a relationship. And that has to be a big part of this, is breaking through that to start, because
for the success of your throuple.
Because it's not just, all of society. When you get invited to a wedding, it's a +1. When you go to restaurants, there's, it's tables for 2. It's the world has been built around that as well.
You're absolutely right. I do think that couples who are looking to turn into a throuple or who are wanting to come out as a throuple, they're going to face a lot of backlash. And I do think that having family support, that having community support, just like with any relationship, does help and make the likelihood of long-lasting success rise for sure. But you're right. Life isn't really in our laws. Like, there's so many things that can discrimination that can happen against throuples, and so it isn't as simple as, oh my gosh, we're dating. It's okay. Who do we come out to? How do we do this? What will our kids think? How do we talk to the schools? There's depending on what level of relationship you want to have and how open you want to be, there are a lot of questions that's where couples come in to talk to me. They're like, we're thinking about opening up our relationship, but we don't know what we don't know. And I'm so glad when they do, because once I have actually a list of questions that I will ask these couples. And if y'all, if your viewers want to follow me and DM me and just ask me for a throuple list, let's just say that.
What's the number one
if you
question?
DM me, I will send a list of questions, because it is fascinating. Those 76 million people, they're probably interested for lots of different reasons. And one of them is, how does this work? Which is exactly what y'all are asking. And it does work for so many couples who turn into throuples together. You said they're looking. You mentioned earlier, this idea of unicorn hunting, they're hunting. When people and couples are doing this together, they tend to do so much better than if it's one person who's leading the charge. Because you need, just like with any relationship, you both need to be giving 100%.
And the unicorn hunting, usually a man and then a hetero flexible woman are searching for another woman. And
is that the norm? Is it mostly one man and 2 women in a throuple?
It is the norm still, especially in our society. We just don't tend to see women as the leaders of most of these throuples, but they're out there and they're happy and they're surviving and they're doing well. But yes, you're right. The unicorn is typically the single female who is open to being a third or open to playing with a couple.
And when people are looking to bring in a third, do you find that they're looking more from a sexual desire point? Like we want to bring someone in to fulfill our sex lives, or we want more emotional energy in this relationship?
So there are typically two ways that a third is even introduced into a couple. And that is because someone has found someone that they are sexually very attracted to, or they are emotionally very attracted to them. And that is a big distinction in the lifestyle, which is to be able to say, I'm having love feelings for this person, or I really am sexually wanting to have, some sort of activity with them and want to share that with you. So I think that distinction is also something that needs to be communicated very clearly, because being able to be sexually attracted to someone and bring them in for maybe a one night or one day or one afternoon or one weekend is very different than inviting them into your relationship. Those are two different things.
Dr. Viviana, look, the skeptic in me, and I'm very skeptical of all this because it is so hard for anyone to find love. And it seems exponentially impossible to me that two people find love with each other and then will find love with another person. The odds of that just seem out of this universe. And so what seems to be more of the norm is kind of what I'm seeing on 90 Day Fiancé, which is, well, really, I'm in love with another person and I need you to kind of go along with it and act, there is this hope that we will all be in love, but someone's always going to be left out. At least that's my skepticism of this.
I think you're right to be skeptical. In my private practice, it is very rare that someone's feelings are not being hurt, whether it's, well, you bought this person more gifts at Christmas, or you spent more time with them, or I heard that you explored this new toy without me. I mean, there's a lot of feelings of being left out. And those are things that they have to consistently negotiate. And some people are just not up to talking. It's tough enough, I will say, it's tough enough to be two people and to be working through life together. To add on a third, it is exponentially harder. I can't say that it's impossible because I've seen some amazing throuples, but it's not the rule. It is the exception.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that 90 Day Fiancé couple. We see them on the show. The husband and the woman they were trying to bring in from Mexico slept together without telling the wife. And she was upset. And she said, hey, well, we need to set... Now, she did say we need to set rules and boundaries and communicate. And I would imagine if you're able to over-communicate and put in that extra energy, it has a better chance of working. But I want to go back to what you just said a minute ago, which was that it often starts with someone saying, I'm having feelings for this person. That to me sounds like a throuple is commencing from a betrayal. So how do you move forward with that as a couple?
Well, and that's a good point, Lauren. I feel like a lot of people typically will just cheat from then on out. Like that, you would never in a consensual non-monogamous relationship, an ethical non-monogamous relationship, would never sleep with someone without there having been a conversation about that being okay. So that in and of itself is already like, you missed the mark, you're just cheating. So it does take over communication. And that's something that really most couples have to have in order to even get through a week, much less a lifetime. But yeah, it is often something that is it's not expected, it's not desired. And then people want to figure out, okay, how do I fit these puzzle pieces together?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you'd say, okay, I'm okay with the throuple because I don't want you to cheat on me.
Yeah, I mean, to Lauren's point, it seems like there's only two ways this starts. And that is miraculously you get together with the idea we're going to form a throuple, and that's some magical, but more times than not, it would be someone has to bring it up. And that in and of itself is...
And listen, I'm open to all forms of love. I think whatever works for you, and people are different. And I would imagine some couples have probably during the dating phase said, hey, I'm bi or whatever. Would you ever be open to a threesome? And hopefully they've had those conversations early on. But my question for you is, I'm already seeing this couple on TV, this throuple start to have cracks in the foundation. Can a throuple work long-term? Have you seen that in your practice? Because look, I look around. I mean, I know maybe we lead kind of a typical life, but I've never, ever met someone who was in a long-term throuple. So are they out there? Can it work? Are we biologically wired for that?
They are out there. They can work. I think it is probably always going to be the exception than the rule. I wouldn't say that we're biologically hardwired to be in romantic relationships with multiple people, but our society is starting to realize that our needs are very rarely met by one person. And trying to fit into that paradigm is really, really problematic. Why do you think so many people are cheating? So many people are online looking for love. So many people were on the Ashley Madison sites. I mean, these are symptoms of something larger, which is saying that being with one person for 60 plus years, this is a fairly new concept. I think now, I know at least in my office, I've noticed that people are going into second and third marriages, but they feel like each marriage is its own marriage. It's not cut short. It just, this kind of played out. And now I'm going into another one, and now I'm going to another one. And some people are saying life is too short to wait for a second or third marriage. Let's get together and see what we can do.
Well, I have some questions about some of the details of what are the sleeping arrangements like? What is date night like? What are the logistics of being in a throuple? We're going to get those answers when we come back. Welcome back with relationship and intimacy expert, Dr. Viviana. We've been talking about throuples, polyamory relationships. And before we took a break, I in my research, it was very interesting to talk about what are the sleeping arrangements? Do they all sleep together in one bed? Do they go to their separate places? What about date nights? Is it always as a throuple? Can we just go out on separate dates? What do you find is the norm? And what are you suggesting as a therapist?
So as far as it being the norm, I would say a lot of throuples are trying to live together, and it comes across as kind of like a roommate situation, which is kind of nice to not have to let everybody know exactly what's going on behind closed doors. Sleeping arrangements, just like with anyone, they do what works for them. So for instance, in my relationship, we tend to sleep in different beds because I like a completely different sleeping situation than my husband does. And so they do what works for them, especially if there are children. Children are going to be aware of their sleep habits just like they would be with any relationship.
So we have the logistics. I saw from the Camp Throuple Instagram, they rotate and one person isn't always in the middle in the bed. They share a bed, but then they switch spots, which I like because you don't always want to be in the middle.
No.
That's sweaty. And you got to have a California king if there's 3 adults there. Okay. We don't have much time, Dr. Viviana, but I did want to ask about another show on TLC. I haven't watched it, but it's a new show called Poly Family. And in this show, we're seeing 2 couples who are sharing everything. They share parenting. They share intimacy all with all of each other, 2 men and 2 women. And this is interesting to me because TLC years ago had Sister Wives, but that's that sort of more, almost a religious way of life where it's a man with multiple wives. This is 2 men, 2 women sharing all the intimacy of everything. Have you seen more of these polyamorous relationships? And do you think this can be a successful relationship?
Well, anytime you have several adults who are working together to get through life, chances are there are going to be really high highs, but there's probably also going to be really low lows. So again, when I see couples and throuples and quads, and we call them pods, any more than 4, it's pods, they're usually coming in because of the logistics, because one person is saying, hey, let's have a baby. The other's like, hey, I got a job opportunity in Ohio, all of these things that taking 2 people is very different than maybe taking 4 or 5 people out of their lives and moving them into something different. So again, there are so many different ways to do this, but the point that I think we should really jump on is you have to communicate your feelings. If you're curious about what it would be like to sleep with someone else, if you're curious about what it would be like to see your partner with someone else, communicate those feelings instead of just trying to coerce and make it happen spontaneously.
Do you think a couple can ever go back? If they try to be a throuple and it doesn't work out, can they successfully return to the two of them, or is there damage done?
I've had couples that try to do that and it ends up being disastrous and they don't end up together.
Yeah, once you rip that Band-Aid off.
It is. It's like once you let the toothpaste out of the tube, that's it. And that's why it's so important to prepare for these things, to lay the groundwork ahead of time, because you're right. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is.
Dr. Viviana, thank you so much for your insight, your expertise. Truly appreciate you having the time to come on and talk to us today.
Yeah, everybody follow Dr. Viviana on Instagram. And as she said, you can DM her and she will send you her list of questions. What's the first question you ask people if they're thinking about a throuple?
Why? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is it that's missing from your relationship that you think will be helped by bringing someone else on?
Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Viviana.
Thanks, guys.
That kind of makes me wonder too, what she was saying. I do think we as a society put too much pressure on our one romantic relationship. Like, I do think you should get emotional support from friends, from mentors in your life, from other people. And there is a lot of pressure. Also, we're all living longer. So maybe we need a couple more marriages because we just live too dang long.
I'm just going to say, we have a hard time finding a couple we want to spend 7 days with on vacation. You want me to live with somebody and their kids?
It's a really good point.
That's going to be a no. That's going to be a no.
We joke, you got to find the right couple to travel with, let alone share your California king bed with.
Thanks to Dr. Viviana, and thank you for being with us today. Truly appreciate it. We do it each and every weekday right here on Merit TV, and you can listen wherever your favorite podcasts are found. Have a great day.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. My network, MeritTV, has it all.
Now, let me blow your mind.
Merit TV's got the news that matters.
The selection of a new pope.
Entertainment you crave.
Busted.
Everybody in good mood today?
And live events.
Surprise.
What am I, chopped liver?
With serious punch.
Big shot.
Go to MeritTV.com and download the Merit TV app today.